Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ajwa. It's another life after maturation video where I give you updates on how fragrances have developed over time, whether they got better or worse or remained same after opening my bottle and letting them sit for a while. In the case of Eau de Soliel, it has a note of banana. It's supposed to have the note of banana. I sort of get a banana accord, but if you are looking for a super realistic banana fragrance, Eau de Soliel is not going to be that fragrance. I know the original one, which is Gucci Gorgeous Orchid, doesn't have the note of banana, but people say they get the note of banana. I sort of get a banana accord. However, with this one being or having the note of banana, after sitting for a while, I cannot say it is a deep, realistic, super fruity banana scent. It doesn't give me that at all. What I get for the most part currently is the pear and the vanilla. The banana is a faint accord I get, so I wouldn't call it a super realistic banana floral gourmand scent. No, it is very lightweight, very airy. It didn't do much when it came to performance, but now I think it is doing so much better. When it comes to fragrance world, you cannot be assured about the performance. A lot of their fragrances are very on the affordable, scale, but the performance can be a little abysmal as compared to something like French Avenue. So I wasn't expecting much from this. However, I still enjoy my 2.5, 3 hours I'm getting on skin in around 5, 6, even 7 hours sometimes, depending on how much I spray. This is a fragrance I enjoy, I love, so I'll be utilizing it. It's gotten better with performance. Scent wise, I thought the banana was going to, amp up, but I'm not getting that. It's still very identical to the original Gucci Gorgeous, orchid. I've compared this one to Athiwi from Latafa, and I enjoyed this one a little more over Athiwi. Athiwi, after maturation, I can, bear it and tolerate it and enjoy it a little more. But as compared to this, I enjoyed it from day one. It is beautiful. It is nothing super special, but still very beautiful, simple vanilla pear, a hint of florals, not the sweetest vanilla or the most gourmand or super foodie. If you are not a fan of super foodie, realistic vanilla scent, this is going to be one of the fragrances. A very simple, easy reach. Performance has improved. Banana, I'm not getting as much. The accord is there, but very faint. The pear is a little amped up. Is overall a good fragrance. A very simple, not your beast mode, something that you can just throw on it and you're good to go. And it's also a very beautiful compliment magnet. I get a few compliments here and there. Eau de Soleil from Fragrance World is one I would highly recommend. And yeah, I think it's a very good value for your money. Whatever you spend on it, you're most likely not going to regret it. The next fragrance is Nafias Sharq from Cadlage. And this was a tricky one. I remember reviewing this one and it smelled to me like a brush or bread accord. That is what I was getting for the most part. Not until someone pointed it to me that it's supposed to be a dupe for Bachiami. And I have Garam for Latafa, which apparently is a good dupe of Bachiami. I never got the connection between this Nafias Sharq and Garam. It never occurred to me because they didn't smell identical to me initially at all. Now, probably because my attention was drawn to the fact that it's supposed to be in the likeness of Garam, I see the similarities, between the two. However, I feel this is like the more floral, much more musky version of Garam. I'm comparing it to Garam because I haven't smelled the original Bachiami, so I will not be able to speak to that. So, in comparison to something like Garam, this is the more floral, much more musky, lighter, but a little more complex version of the garam, from Latafa. Garam is more vanillic as compared to this. This is supposed to be a very heavy vanilla, gardenia, and some other florals and a hint of musky powderiness. But what I get from it is the powdery, musky, florals, the gardenia is what I get with other florals. I'm not getting the vanilla as much, even after sitting for almost 2 months at this point. I'm still not getting a heavy vanilla scent as compared to something like Garam from Latafa. So, in my opinion, this is a very beautiful scent. I'll give it to that. I love the scent. I enjoy the scent profile. It's very beautiful, very pretty, a little more complex than garam. Garam feels a little more sweeter, a little more vanillic as compared to Nafayas, which is more floral but also very elegant and beautiful with a hint of that brush accord that I still get. So I would say I now get a similarity between this and garam. However, it's a little less vanillic, and a little less sweet. Nonetheless, very beautiful. So I would still recommend this. I would still recommend this if you want it. If you want something similar to garam but more floral and musky and a little, fluffy, but a little complex or a little more complex with that sort of brush accord that I personally put, you might want to go with Nafias Sharq. Longevity is still an issue. I remember this one, my friend, yeah, complain about the longevity of her bottle. And yes, it's the same for me. I will still not say it is the best performer as compared to Garam. Garam is a much better performer, longevity and projection and everything. Upon initial spray, it projects and everything, but it doesn't really stay even on clothes, it doesn't really stay even on clothes. So that is the only downside about this. But the scent is so beautiful. I enjoy it. And that is going to be my update on Nafias Sharq from Cadillac. The next fragrance is Victoria by Lattafa. So this was my first decant that I got. And then I also got another one. So I have two Victoria, decants. And I've tried them. I've tested it. I've compared it to several other fragrances, including Afnan's Delicious Bouquet, which I'm going to give an update as soon as I'm done with this. I'll be doing it alongside. I've compared it to other several Devotion, dupes. And I think I've realized that the reason why Victoria didn't really come up as a very I wasn't really impressed about Victoria is the fact that the more I smell my original bottle of Devotion, the less I begin to like it. I've had a few people telling me, but personally, the more I smell my bottle of Devotion, and I think the reason why this is happening is the fact that I've tried Delicious Bouquet from Afnan, which has a lot more or a little bit of the lemon, gourmand thing that I find a little downgraded in the original Devotion. There is lemon in the original Devotion, but I think something like Delicious Bouquet and Sharq from Le Falcon up here is much more lemony, much more brighter. And I feel of that scent profile, I enjoy the lemon. When it's amped up in the lemon, I enjoy it a lot more. Probably that is why I'm now finding my Devotion less interesting. And that is the same thing I associate with Lattafa Victoria. I find it a little less interesting as compared to Afnan's Delicious Bouquet, which is also here. This is a little amped up in the lemon. So I get a lemon, vanilla, cakey thing, a lot more. I feel this is a better fragrance. I'm not even comparing, but fragrance wise, I think this Delicious Bouquet is a much better fragrance than Victoria to my nose. Victoria pulls more orangey to me, and even the original Devotion now pulls less lemony and a bit more orangey to me. I'm not talking about the Devotion Intense. I'm talking about the original EDP. So for that reason, I find the original Victoria a lot more closer. First of all, I find it a lot more closer to Devotion now. Initially, it didn't give me 100%. Now I find it a lot more closer to the original Devotion. But I guess for the scent profile by itself is not as interesting to me. It falls flat somehow as compared to Delicious Bouquet from Afnan and Sharq from the brand Le Falcon. Those are the two I will gravitate towards, And after this Delicious Bouquet sitting for a while, it's much more interesting. It was interesting to begin with, but it's much more interesting. It's amped up in the lemon. I think I enjoy the lemon aspect of the fragrance a lot more. The more lemon it has with the addition of that pancotta and the vanilla and the other, beautiful notes, the more I enjoy. So that is the case of Sharq and Afnan's Delicious Bouquet. So to me, I would say go for Delicious Bouquet if you want something with a little more of a lemon feel. And if you want the best of them all, you might want to go with Sharq from Le Falcon. That is my best fragrance when it comes to that Devotion DNA. I think it is my favorite of them all. But Victoria is good, but it wasn't great to me. It feels a little flat. It now very identical, maybe about 95% identical to the original Devotion, which currently I wouldn't say is a love of mine. No, so that is going to be it for those two. Go for Sharq or Afnan's Delicious Bouquet because the lemon is a little amped up and it gives it a brightness and some zesty feel that I enjoy a lot more. So let's do Opulent Red from Lattafa. This is a replaced bottle and I was gifted this one. And this I'm giving an update after 3 years, almost 3 years of having an original bottle, which I decluttered, but I was gifted this by my friend, and this is so beautiful. My mindset about this is entirely different from when I initially got my original bottle. This is beautiful, very matured, cognac, boozy, woody, a bit skanky, a bit funky, a bit complex. Jasmine, a very heady jasmine, very, very strong florals. If you don't love florals, you're not going to appreciate this. I'm not a fan of florals necessarily, but there are exceptions to the rule, and this I think is an exception. A very beautiful jasmine, tuberose sort of feel. It doesn't really give me anything I have in my collection. It doesn't really necessarily smell identical to a lot of things. People say they get alien from this. I don't. Not on any of my flankers of alien or the original one. It doesn't smell identical to me in any way, shape, or form. This is so beautiful, so potent. It's a gothic, bold, elegant, beautiful, matured, heavy, heady in a way. Florals, with the boozy cognac and the agar wood, which can be, it's a little funky, but very beautiful. It feels like dirty and raw and sexy at the same time. That is the best way I can describe it. Just like the bottle, a little bewitching, a little sultry. I never understood the fragrance until 3 years down the line, and I'm so glad I was able to retest this fragrance and have it back in my collection. So if you've ever been wondering how your older bottle, or you were like me and never enjoyed your original bottle, you might want to go back to the very macerated bottle to see how it is faring now. So that is going to be my update on Opulent Red by Latafa. Very beautiful, excellent, matured smelling, mature where you need to sort of, it's either you love it or hate it. And at this current point, I love it. And nothing is going to change my mind about Opulent Red by Latafa. In the case of Khamrah Dukhan, I don't know if I should say I'm taking back my words, because I remember speaking about or giving my first impressions about Khamrah Dukhan, and I described it as my favorite Khamrah yet. I would have to retract that statement currently, because after this one sitting for about 2 months, maybe 3 months, and revisiting it, it doesn't really give me as interesting as the original camera. This gave me the original camera about 90% with the shisha accord. I get something like a shisha accord, like an orange shisha accord. That is how I described it initially, because that was what it was giving me. I saw a lot of reviews, and everybody was like all about Khamrah Dukhan. I was all about it because it smelled amazing to me. After sitting for 3 months or a little over that, I don't find it as much interesting. I don't get that cinnamony, apple pie feel that I originally got from the original camera, that I felt I could smell in this one. I no longer get that as much. I get less of that cinnamon apple pie original camera DNA. I get less of that. It has become much more resonant, much more woody, a little more amped up in the shisha accord. It's supposed to have the note of incense, but it translates more like a shisha accord to my nose, so it's like an orange or mandarin shisha accord with the original camera DNA. But now I find the cinnamon apple pie DNA, I get it less, and a more woody, much more resonant sort of feel. It reminds me of something else now. I think I'll be doing a comparison with that fragrance. I want to be sure, but it sort of deviates from the original camera as it matures. It doesn't give me that 90% camera original one. It gives me something entirely different. I like it, but I find it a little less interesting at this point. I would just be honest, I find it a little less interesting. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favorite camera. I think I'm just going to go back to my camera kawa as my favorite camera, But I don't know why it turned on me like that, because it was very pleasant. I got the camera, the cinnamon, and all the good, aspects of the original camera. I got it, but now I don't get it as much. And for that reason, I don't think I'm ever going to worry myself about getting a full size bottle. It's beautiful, but it's changed, it's changed to my nose. Maybe it's just me. I think I might wait on it for a little while, and probably give it my final verdict or my final update. But that is going to be Khamrah Dukhan from the brand Latafa. Latafa and Abiyedh Coral. I think this is also a case where I described it in a very positive light. I still maintain that positive light that I described this fragrance. A very beautiful, delightful, effortlessly chic, tropical, watermelon, peach, coconut. Now I don't get the coconut as much. Honestly, I thought I was getting coconut when I initially get. Maybe it sounded like coconut water, but I don't get a realistic, intrusive coconut at all. What I'm getting for the most part is the watermelon, and I've heard people saying the watermelon comes across as a little synthetic to them. Yes, I get it, but I still love how it wears. It's beautiful. The watermelon peach, it gives me that peachy apricot sort of feel. I get less of the coconut now. It's still a very beautiful scent. I still would say I agree with that synthetic watermelon nuance that it gives, but it's still a very beautiful synthetic watermelon, beautiful scent, very delightful. What I've noticed about this fragrance is that the opening is very bright and delicious and sweet and fun. There's something somewhere in the middle that goes a little off to me. There's something in the middle, that goes off after about 30 minutes. There's something that goes a little off, like something. I don't know how to describe. I wouldn't say pulse watermelon, but there's something that goes off, and then at the deepest dry down, it becomes a little more beautiful once again. I don't get anything synthetic at the dry down, the deepest dry down. I'm looking for I can't find it, but I sprayed it on a tester strip yesterday. I can still smell it today. It's been over 24 hours since I was trying to update myself with the scent and everything. I can still smell it. So longevity where, wise is good. The middle is where I'm having a little issue. The initial beautiful, sweet, fun, delightful watermelon blast that it gives. There's something in the middle that goes a little off to me, but it goes back to being a regular, beautiful, watermelon, peachy, sort of, sweet, fun fragrance at a dry down. And the longevity in this one is good because after 24 hours on even a test strip, I can still smell it. So yeah, that is my update on Coral. I would still recommend that you get it. If you want a full size bottle, you might as well go for it. It's not synthetic like an awful synthetic, not wearable sort of fragrance. It's not to me at all. Although my current Anabia is the Scarlet, but this is a very beautiful everyday. It's a little maybe slightly juvenile. You might describe it slightly juvenile, but still a very beautiful scent. And that is Abiyedh Coral from Latafa. Mamlakat Al Oud Elaf is a very beautiful interpretation of Berberry Goddess. I did a comparison. If you have something like Angam, Athena, Lion Heart Woman from Amaf, Elaf, it's just going to be redundant. You don't need this if you have the ones which preceded these ones. It's beautiful nonetheless. It's a very beautiful vanilla, cacao, ginger scent. What I have noticed about Elaf is the fact that the ginger has become a lot more pronounced as compared to the ginger I get in any of the Berberry Goddess dupes I have described on this channel. I think I've compared about 6 or 7 of them at a particular point. I'll look for the video and probably add it to the description. But Elaf to me stands out as the most gingery. It gives me the spice, that ginger sort of feel. It's much more pronounced than any of the other dupes that I have currently. Elaf is beautiful. It's still going to give you that same lavender, vanilla, cacao, ginger feel of the original Berberry Goddess, but I find the ginger in this one a little more amped up. That is why I wanted to give that update. I think probably in subsequent updates I'll be giving the others, but this one stood out to me as the one that has matured into a more spicy, much more realistic ginger, feel. I get it more than the ginger I find in the original, even the original, yes, the original Berberry Goddess, the Angam, the Athena, the Lion Heart, and several other ones. This is the one that stood out to me as aged well in terms of the ginger. It's not overwhelming, but it is very dominant. You get the ginger spicy nuance, but it's still not an overwhelming ginger at all. And that is the most significant difference I have found after this one sitting for a while. And I also recommend, but it's still a very redundant fragrance if you have your Athenes and the Angams. If you have this one or you find it at a very reasonable price, I would highly recommend that you check it out or you pick it blindly. You're going to get the same Baby Goddess feel, but after aging, you're going to get much more of that ginger, which I enjoy in this one. And this is Elaf from Mamlakat Al Oud. The last fragrance on this list is from Lafayette Cadillac, and this is Cristalia Primaso. This is my best version of eating juicy apple. You know, when it comes to the dupes, this is my best version. A very beautiful, realistic apple, and like Granny Smith apple and some other fruit, red berries. It's very beautiful, sugary, sweet, fun. Some might even say it is juvenile. Yes, but it's a very fun, effortless body mist like, a little upgraded body mist like. Still a very beautiful scent. It hasn't really changed much. I wouldn't say it has changed and it's amped up and it's like stronger. It hasn't changed much at all. It's still a very beautiful, sweet, fun, girly apple berries, fragrance. Just like the original Eating Juicy Apple, I enjoy this one a lot more over other Eating Juicy Apple dupes I have come across. This is, to me, is the best interpretation of the scent profile. It hasn't changed much. Longevity is not the best. It's not a beast mode fragrance at all. It's a lightweight, light wear. It lingers on your skin for around 2.5, 3 hours maximum. On clothes, it's going to stay for around 5 to 6 hours. If you, the more you spray, the longer it's going to last. Obviously, you can always reapply, but my 10 ml is gone, and this is a very beautiful addition to my collection. I think it's one that is like an easy reach. If you don't know what to wear and you just around the house, you're not going to anything, super special, you might want to grab Cristalia Primaso from Lafayette Cadillac. And these are amazing fragrances which have matured beautifully. I think all of them have matured beautifully, except, the Dukhan that I'm a little disappointed in right now. But I will just also give a little more time and update after a while. But that is going to be it for today, and I hope this video found you well. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.